And we're live. Thanks for joining us for another episode of 4 Quarters. All sports, every day, all day. And she's a babe. I really got to stop talking about Aaron Rodgers.
My money's on that.
And to no surprise, my shout out, Caitlin Clark.
I'm like, what's happening to our group?
We're live.
Oh, we're live. I thought there was an introduction going on. We're a little late, and as usual, we are no help to CB.
No,
we're
zero.
glad CB's back, but zero.
Zero.
When she can't get something working, we sit here and, well, I giggled nervously this time.
Yeah, because I was just
CB was
cursing.
mad.
I was just cursing
Like a trucker over there.
Yeah. I'm like, she's
like,
really
well-
mad. So welcome in to the usual cast of characters. Again, we thank Raylene for helping us out last week. I hope you're watching us on our 4 Quarters Facebook page.
Hopefully.
Hopefully on
Hopefully.
YouTube.
Hopefully it's on YouTube.
And we're on 802 Scoops as well. So welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us for our craziness for an hour. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to be all over the place. Except we're probably going to flip the switch and go NFL sooner because it's just crazy time of year always for the NFL, but more so now. And then we'll talk a little bit of March Madness, talk about our Final Four. Make sure you're all sitting down, okay? Because Wheels does not have a shout out, but for 5 seconds, this is her shout out.
It's
March Madness,
March Madness.
but we know what this means.
Yep. The queen of March Madness.
We know.
Yep.
Okay,
That's it.
break.
That's it.
CD, we're going to throw it your way.
Wait, Caitlin Clark, didn't the Caitlin Clark Foundation just announce that they were setting up 4 basketball hoops in the Iowa area or something like that?
I don't know.
Something like that. Flau'jae Johnson is doing something big too.
Yeah.
She's raising a lot of money for a lot of families too. So women in sports, again,
Yeah, for sure.
going up.
Women in sports, I forgot who projected it. They were supposed to, in 2025, they're supposed to rake in $2.5 billion. Did you guys see that statistic?
So we'll talk about that in the first or second quarter as we talk about a possible WNBA lockout.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we missed you last week.
We did, CB.
I missed you guys.
Except when you started getting frustrated and we don't
We
help
couldn't
you.
remember, were you gone for work or for pleasure?
No, it was for work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was work.
We couldn't remember.
No pleasure, just work.
Okay.
I lost my glasses.
I did get to hit up an H Mart on the way home, so I spent $150 at
What's
H
that?
Mart. It's a cream market.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, we're looking at each other
like,
what is that?
Yeah.
Maybe, yes.
There's no Asian markets in Vermont.
No.
So, and
Karen will be over to help you cook, trust me.
and H Mart is specifically a Korean market. So I was
Okay.
like, I'm just going to buy
Awesome.
Now, in
all
what
the things.
town, city did you hit it up in?
So I was in Foxborough. I hit it up on my way back. It was closer. Oh gosh, it was. I don't even know what town. It was closer to kind of the Massachusetts, New Hampshire border-ish.
Gotcha.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
And you spent some money. That's
Spent
good.
so much money and
It's worth it.
worth it.
It's worth it. You have shout outs or doggies you want to start with? Because we missed not having a doggie last
The doggy, definitely.
Doggy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So, this week we have Posey. She's 5 months old.
I love so cute.
She is a little scruffy little thing. Who knows? She's a mix of probably 50 different dog breeds.
Do you think there's any
Little
golden
Heinz.
doodle in her or no? Am I
Could be.
grasping?
She's little Heinz 57. She's a rookie. She's learning her basic plays. But she's a great team player and locker room
And a
presence.
quick learner.
Yes, she's a quick learner.
Yeah.
She loves everyone she meets and all dogs. She gets along with her 4
That's another Avery.
foster, her 4 foster brothers and sisters. And again, she's friggin' adorable. There's also, what was the other dog's name?
Oh, yes.
Posey's in Vermont.
It was with a W.
Waffles.
Waffles.
Thank you.
Guys,
Yes.
I was going to say
also-
Wheezy. That wasn't even close.
Go
W.
also check out Waffle.
Waffles,
is in
1 year old.
Waffles is in Massachusetts. He's 1 year old. He's gorgeous.
He's so gorgeous.
And he's a little bit like golden,
is.
Great Pyrenees, Australian Shepherd. So he's just super floofy.
The golden stands out, but then you
adorable.
say the other two breeds, and I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
he's gonna be a big boy.
So check out Golden Hugs.
Please check out Golden Hugs.
It's the season. It's
It is.
warmer. You can start bringing.
I mean,
them
it is mud
outside.
season.
I would not.
It is. It is.
Mud season is not the time to get a dog, people.
Well, short-haired dogs is not bad.
My house, literally, there is mud and crevices. There should not be mud. Avery thinks mud is the greatest thing ever invented.
It's a new
She
thing.
slides in it. She nose dives in it. It is all over my walls. It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Not on my walls,
It's
though.
so wonderful. Paisley walks around it. She's like this.
Oh.
Paisley loves her hygiene. She
You
doesn't like to
have
get dirty.
You always have the first dog,
Yeah.
and then you have the crazy, psychotic second dog.
She's psychotic.
right. The first dog that makes you want to get the second dog, and then the
Yes.
second dog comes along, and they're always the psychotic,
Yep.
like out of
Yep.
their mind. Yeah,
Yep.
happens all the time. Oh, hey, Joe. Joe's in the house.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
He says, "Evening, ladies. Welcome back, CB. Glad to be back." And Raylene says, "Oh goodness."
Oh,
We love
goodness.
them. We love them.
Oh my God, too funny.
But my shout out was, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but Nafisa Collier, Unrivaled first MVP, deservedly so. She
Yep,
killed
deservedly
it.
so.
And we said she was on a revenge tour from the WNBA finals. And then with the way that they lost the semifinals, next year
look out.
is gonna be insane.
They hadn't lost but one game.
One game.
the
Yep.
whole time.
Yep. And they were up. And they
were up.
They lost to Vinyl.
I told you I was
Yeah.
like watching, but I'm on my phone and I'm
Yeah.
just glancing up, and I was texting with you.
Yeah.
And then I went, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
And CB's like, "What the bleep?" And I'm like, "Did that really just happen?"
Oh my gosh. Kudos to Jordan Canada, who was like
Yeah.
playing out of her
Yeah.
mind.
100% playing out of her mind. And that is why we actually named the show A Rose in Bloom, because the Rose ended up winning.
Yeah.
So you had to be happy for that after
Yeah.
you got over the sting.
Yeah, but literally just because, as an Aces fan, Chelsea Gray in the semifinals literally at one point had 21 straight points for the Rose. She literally could not miss a shot.
Yeah.
She's on a little bit of a revenge tour too.
Yeah.
I mean, she was talking about how I was reading an article. Obviously, she was a playoff MVP, but they asked her if she had something to prove, and she said, "Hell yeah, there was definitely motivation."
Yeah.
Because last year was hard. It was a rough season for her.
Right. She was still
And-
having foot issues.
Yep, and when she came back, everyone thought came back. She's healthy, and she goes, "I was nowhere near 100%, and I put the work in. I do my job, and then I do my talking after."
Yep.
Which,
Hell yeah.
She did
That's
do.
how it should be.
yep,
Exactly.
Yep, and she wanted to compete and make others better, which some of her passes were insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
Some-
she's still the point guard.
Yep. And then
So-
she also said she has a little chip on her shoulder, and the 50K also helps as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we always have to slide that money in
Yeah,
there as
I mean,
well.
money talks. Let's be real.
But very impressed. She looks conditioned. She looks in
Yeah,
shape.
she looks
And then
very much
also
in shape.
shout out to Natisha Heidemann, who was in. She was basically the sub, like when when teams had injuries. So I think she literally played for all of the Unrivaled teams at one point.
Oh, wow.
And then she ended up on the championship team. So
That's
shout out to
hilarious.
Natisha Heidemann.
Oh my God. And it was a good game yesterday too. I still can't
Yeah.
believe Collier wasn't in the final. But anyway,
Wow.
it was fun.
Yeah.
Once I finally got into it.
Yeah.
And of course that one-on-one tournament was fabulous.
Oh, yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
women's sports, WNBA, all-time high.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Raylene says yes. Oliver, calm. McCormick, not so much.
Yeah, it's like yin and yang. I
Yeah.
swear.
It's always.
Yep.
Always.
Like literally, even when you go around the neighborhood, like when there's huge puddles in the road, but there's like dry areas, like Paisley will she'll detour.
Yeah.
She's like, nope, I don't want Avery. Boom, right through. I'm like, seriously.
one brain cell.
Literally
Bo is
one.
like that. He will go around,
One
but
brain
then
cell.
there are times I hear flop, flop, flop,
Yeah.
flop.
Nope.
But I don't know if he can see it either.
Yeah.
I'm going to go that way with it. Yeah.
Paisley's a little princess. She's just like, nope, I don't want my paws dirty. I'm like, I love you so much.
Any more shouts?
Not for me, but Joe says my shout out is to Coach McCauley for being a great coach and Shep for being her assistant coach.
Good shout.
I will shout that to the mountaintops. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Yeah, she took over. She'd get mad at me when I always say she instead of we, but we took over a program that was 1-19, and 6 years later we made it to 2 state championships. Yeah, that's tough not bringing home a banner, but
Yeah, but you went there.
we
You
went
got
there, and
Yes.
the program's in a good place. And like I said, that when she said I'm ready, because you as a human, when you're ready in whatever scenario in life. I said, and it's a good time because the cupboard is definitely half full or full, more so full. So it's a good time.
And I always say, when I moved up here and became friends with you, you got me invested in a team that
I know.
I had no connection to.
Right?
I was
Right.
I got NFHS. I was watching
You
games.
do watch NFHS.
Dragged my dad to a couple of basketball games.
We appreciate that. You
Yeah.
watched us
But
and cheered us on.
It's
all
been a lot
of
of
you.
fun watching you guys the last few
it
years.
has.
For sure.
It has.
For sure.
And I always said I'm in it as long as Tanya's in it. So I just was waiting for her, but another
On to
chapter.
New things.
Yep, on
you guys
to new things.
can still be a part of it. You're just
Absolutely.
from you don't want people screaming at you. now.
That's right.
And you won't get us sick, hopefully, next year.
Yes.
I have never been as sick as I was this
Yeah.
winter. I mean, I told you last Wednesday when I'm here with you, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm losing my voice completely.
Yeah.
A little embarrassing. I'm going to give some quick shout outs to, and I should have done this last week, the state championship wrestling that was at the Barry Auditorium. Was it 2 or 3 Saturdays ago? I think it was 3. 3 Saturdays ago. CB's going to put a picture up.
What a
First
picture.
time
It's an
it
awesome
was
picture.
at
What
the
a
Barry
picture.
Auditorium. Mick Karen and the whole entire crew, you guys did an absolutely amazing job.
Look at the turnout.
Right? And it goes from place to place. Like I think next year it's supposed to be at CVU. So our dear friend Renee will have it at her high school. But there's no way that it's not coming back here.
No,
no. Yeah.
Yep, you've got the hotels, the restaurants, and everything around, and it's the Barry Odd.
Right.
But that picture, and Spalding, a big shout out to them as well for coming in third. Mount Anthony did win again, and I've lost track.
I know.
38 in a row. I've
something like
lost
that.
track. And of course, we have to give a big shout out. We'll talk about March Madness near the second half of our program, but you got to give a shout out to the UVM women
Yeah.
who will be playing Saturday at 2, I believe, NC State.
NC State. Yes.
I watched that game with Albany, and that was impressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, their defense was off the freaking charts. I'm like, goddamn defenses. You know how I love defenses. So, of course, we have to go with the home heart here and just give UVM.
Absolutely.
It's great. They were the number
think
2 seed, I think. Had
they
split
play
with
Friday.
Albany. What's that?
They play Friday, I think.
It's Saturday.
Saturday.
I think
Okay.
it's a
At 2.
2 o'clock game on
Yep.
Saturday.
Against
So-
NC State. Yeah.
Yeah, usually they get UConn or something
Yeah.
like that. So we looked at the wrestling one. Best thing I heard, and this is a Miles Garrett shout out who we talked about last week, how he wanted out of Cleveland in the worst way. He was going to dig his heels in. He wants to be traded. And then he gets $40 million a year. So he goes back to Cleveland and he demanded $40 million a year and a Super Bowl winning quarterback to lead the Browns. Done and done.
Yep.
Because Kenny Pickett, the backup quarterback for the Eagles, has now been traded to the Browns.
Well played, Cleveland. Well played.
I mean,
He
come
didn't
on.
specify it had to be
He
the
did
starting
not.
quarterback of a Super
He
Bowl
just
champion.
said a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So
That's
I'm
the best move Cleveland's made in a long time.
like, right? I mean, what can you say to that?
Right?
I mean, it can't get worse for them, can it?
It can't. Well, I don't know.
Well,
Oh, whoops.
so those were some good things I've heard. We're gonna then move on to Aaron Rodgers. See, I took a moment. We're gonna put up a great picture of him because my thinking was he was holding out with the Giants and the Steelers because he just wanted to go to Minnesota.
Makes sense.
So the Minnesota Vikings have announced that they are no longer, right now, interested in signing Aaron Rodgers.
Smart
the picture
decision.
is amazing because he looks like a
Oh, so mad.
70-year-old Viking. I mean, it's one of the best pictures I've ever seen. I think that's why he was holding out. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, same.
He just wanted to be on a team where you can just throw the ball in the air and Justin Jefferson's going to
Right.
catch it.
Right.
And
I mean,
the
who-
other
Who
gossip
doesn't?
that I heard like 24, 48 hours ago was that teams have been calling Minnesota inquiring about J.J. McCarthy.
Yes, I did see that.
Because if they're going to shift to Aaron Rodgers, everybody's like, oh, fine, we'll take a young quarterback.
Right.
So, yeah. And so Adam Schefter did report today that nothing related to Minnesota altered Aaron Rodgers' timeline, blah, blah, blah. But Aaron Rodgers has said he is still in no rush at all to decide his future.
He's
So that's the worst thing I could have
going to
possibly
wait so he
heard.
doesn't have to go to camp
Well, that too.
Yeah.
because he hates camp. So he's probably like, well, I'll make a decision mid-camp or whatever. I have to
So
go.
Cam Hayward, who's the big stud on the Steelers, defensive lineman, defensive end, excuse me, he has his own podcast, and he's like, you either want to be a Steeler or you do not. At some point, the process needs to end, which I completely agree. I'm ready to move on. I don't need a dark retreat to decide what I need to do with my life. So you either want to be here or you're not. Let's move on. And
Agreed.
I couldn't agree
Yeah.
with him more.
Absolutely.
So when you hear your star, one of the stars of your team say that, what are you as an owner and a GM thinking? Or a coach, if you're Coach Tomlin.
Yeah.
Or if you're, I mean, no, we're just going to stay with Pittsburgh because we're talking about Hayward. If I'm a GM,
Right.
I know I only have Mason Rudolph. We re-signed our backup quarterback of 6
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
left for a year. All right, so you bring the guy back that knows what goes on in the organization, knows the system, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So now I think I personally shift to the draft and I pull my offer from Aaron
Absolutely.
Rodgers.
Oh,
100%.
Yep.
100%.
So why don't teams do that?
I know.
If I'm the Giants, I pull
Right.
it too because the Giants can fall back.
Right.
They have the number 3 pick.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not in desperate. I mean, they're
Right.
in desperate need, but they're
Yes.
not in a.
Right.
They're in a totally different situation.
Right.
Yes.
And I think, like they've been bringing in Jameis Winston,
I like
Joe
that.
Flacco.
I like
Me too.
that.
Me too.
Yep. So bring in
Wasn't
one
mad.
of those guys
Yep.
with your young quarterback
Yep.
that you're going to
gonna
draft.
Yeah.
But then I look at Pittsburgh and I say, well, you're drafting 21, whereas the Giants are drafting 3 in the
Right.
first round.
Right.
What do? I mean, do you stick with Mason Rudolph for a year? Do you then try to bring, because we're obviously forgetting about Russell Wilson
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
Do you try to bring Russell Wilson back? Is Russell Wilson really going to Cleveland?
I
We discussed this
wouldn't
last
think
week.
so, but
I don't see it.
I mean, Pittsburgh's
I
in
don't
a good
think so.
situation where Jackson Dart could be there at 21.
Thank you for saying it for me, because I didn't want to be the
welcome.
one that always says
'Cause
Jackson Dart.
I know you love Jackson Dart.
I have a lot of notes down here on Jackson Dart.
But he is predicted to go in the first round. So
He now has,
He has moved
climbed,
up.
because they're looking at him like they did Bo Nix.
yes, they're comparing
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
So Mel Kiper Jr., who will do 1,000 mock drafts live in the next, whatever, 5
Month,
weeks.
yeah.
And you'll watch all of them.
Yeah.
I started to watch one yesterday, and he said, mind you, I'm just doing my mock draft and where I think these players fit. I'm not going into the room and thinking about how GMs think. He had Jackson Dart going number 9
Oh, wow.
to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah,
And
have heard
I
that.
say this with great confidence. He said Jackson Dart more than me.
Oh.
He kept going on
Yeah.
and on. I'm like, I should call Wheels right now and let her know that Mel Kiper is way higher. He thinks Kellen Moore wants to bring in his own quarterback. And then you have that 1 year gap
Yep.
with
Yep.
Derek Carr.
Yep.
So I loved Jackson Dart to the Steelers.
I do too.
Love him, love
He
him,
fits.
love him.
Yeah.
But is it going to happen?
Is he going to be there?
Is he going to be there now?
Yeah.
Or are we going to see Bo Nix all over again?
Could
And
be.
it depends on Kellen Moore and all the film he's going to watch and all the sit downs he's going to have with Jackson Dart. Is that your guy?
Right.
Because I heard Sean Payton was panicking because they thought a plethora of teams were going to trade up ahead of him, which they probably were going to
Yeah.
for Bo Nix last year. Which brings me to the one quarterback that the Steelers have sat down a ton with, Jalen Milroe.
All right.
if he goes in the first round,
I mean,
then
he's definitely not a first round quarterback. Absolutely
he is
not.
not
No.
a first round
No,
quarterback.
not at all.
The other thing I heard is that the Tennessee Titans would like to transition from quarterback Will Levis. I don't think I've ever heard it put that way. Transition.
That's a nice
Not
way
just
of
trade
saying
him or
that
say
you suck.
you can go work out
Yeah.
a trade.
Yep.
So there's another quarterback that could be out there. But all this happens, I think, on draft day. And again, Kirk Cousins.
Right.
Yeah.
I threw Kirk Cousins
Where
out
in the
there
world
last
is Kirk
week.
Cousins?
Right.
Literally the question.
He literally, last I knew, hadn't even sat down with Falcons management.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, he's not even sitting down with anyone.
No.
No one's
So-
even talking about him.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this something that's going to happen around the draft? Is everything, free agency is pretty much the bulk of it's happened? So the dust is settling now?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
And
think
is
so.
a Will Levis going to get traded on draft day or draft weekend? Is Kirk Cousins?
Right.
I mean, could the Falcons then go, there's a desperate team out there, number one, named the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
Will you give us a third or fourth round pick, which is a really good draft pick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think he's really staying in Atlanta? That's a lot of money
I mean,
tied up in a backup.
I mean, for him, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
it depends what
It's a
his
lot of
mindset
money.
is, I guess. Like, does he think he's still starting quarterback in the NFL? Then he doesn't want to stay there. But
He's got to. Think
But-
he's still got a year
Yeah.
or two.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And will he bounce back better this year now that he has a year
right,
away from his was the Achilles, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Boy, Achilles is just the thing. I think if Pittsburgh doesn't, I don't want them to get Aaron. You know what I really think Aaron Rodgers should do? And Diana Rossini, who reports for The Athletic, is what it's called. She said, I still think he's going to retire.
Joe says Rodgers needs to go to the beach and stay there.
Yes.
yeah,
I mean, or the dark hole that he
yeah.
goes
Wherever
into.
he's going, his silent retreat, and just
Is he
stay
going to
there.
retire? Is he just dragging this out to stroke his ego
Oh,
more and
100%
more and
he's
more?
dragging it out.
Absolutely.
So people
I
talk
feel like
about
I
it.
feel like the regular I have heard no fan actually say they want Aaron
Nope.
Rodgers.
No.
Haven't said
And he
heard
wants
anyone.
what, like $30 million a year? Get the fuck out
Yeah,
of here.
yeah.
Get
Of
out
course
of
he
here.
does.
Yep.
I'm leaning with retirement.
Yeah, I think he should retire.
If he's holding hostage the Giants and the Steelers and making them wait, and I really wish they would just pull their offer. I do
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
Giants are going to move on. So it's literally the Steelers
He shouldn't
only.
want to go to the Giants. He's just going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah, he is.
And if he wants a playoff contender, that is Pittsburgh
Right.
Right.
and the Vikings, but that's not going to happen. That door is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the dude is doing. I would have no problem with him not being in the NFL
Yeah, me
anymore.
neither.
Yeah.
I really would.
We're gonna have to deal with him on the Pat McAfee show maybe every single day.
Speaking of the Mel Kiper, though, draft, it went Cam Ward to the Titans, which 2 weeks ago it was the Titans are trading the pick. 1 week ago it was they're comfortable with Cam Ward because it changes 1,000 times. Abdul Carter going to Cleveland.
It's a good
you
pick for them.
Just gave Myles Garrett $40 million. Now you're going to give Carter whatever, but they're going to have lethal defensive
Yeah.
Oh,
ends
yeah.
on
I mean,
bookends.
that's going to be.
And Shador Sanders going to the Giants.
Yep.
And Travis Hunter going to the Patriots.
Yeah.
And the Patriots just
God.
sitting there, and Travis Hunter falls into their
Right?
lap.
It all depends on what the Giants do
Yes.
with the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And if I'm Cleveland, I'm looking at Travis Hunter too.
Yeah.
I've got to be
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, how can
Oh, yeah.
how
could
can
you
you
not?
not?
How
you
can
have a
not?
lot of
He
money
fills
tied up.
two spots.
Yeah.
You have a lot of money tied up in Deshaun Watson, who's not going to play this year. You brought Kenny Pickett in, who's not that bad, and he has a lot of starting power under his belt. I get Travis Hunter in there. If I'm Cleveland, because you now have re-signed Myles Garrett. And if you're the Giants, it's hard to pass on him too.
Yeah.
So many teams are going to cringe when they pass on him. But in the Giants situation, you need that quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm going to cringe when the Giants pass
Yeah.
on him.
I know.
And he falls right into. And the Patriots have done an outstanding job in free agency. They have built a great defense, and that's Mike Vrabel's thing.
Yeah.
You then add Travis Hunter
I know.
Oh, my
to
gosh.
the mix, and whether it's they need a wide receiver more, so he plays 70, 60%,
Yeah.
and then he fills in on packages.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting a twofer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are getting a twofer. Any more NFL stuff you guys want to talk about? I think
I mean, The Bengals duo got paid.
There it
Yeah.
is. Thank you for saying that.
Shout out
They
to them.
definitely,
And they definitely got paid.
they definitely
Yeah.
got paid. Oh yeah.
I didn't think it was possible.
I didn't either.
I
Oh
said,
my
fine,
gosh.
franchise T. Higgins, you still can't sign both of
Nope.
them. And when it came on the breaking news, I
Yep.
was like, holy shit, they got it done.
They did, but they're
Yeah.
gonna have to score 50 points a game.
Yep.
If they can't figure out their defense,
And they got to keep
Yeah.
Hendrickson.
they have to.
Yeah.
They got to keep Hendrickson and draft defense, the best defensive prospect that falls to
Yep.
them. And then you got a chance.
Yes.
You got a chance.
Yeah.
You do. You
Yeah.
always have a chance when you have Chase and Burrow.
That's right.
So, but
Just
And
depends on how slow of a start they have.
exactly, if it's the Joe Burrow that was dead to me
Yeah.
for the first part of
Because
fantasy,
it just proves they
Then
they played
that's
their
what I mean.
asses off last year, but they started 0-5.
Yeah.
right?
100%.
That's a hard hole to dig out of in that division.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
Do you guys want to talk baseball now? Or
I mean, can we even believe it started?
Oh my gosh.
WNBA? And I'm talking about the possible lockout in the WNBA or the collective bargaining. I don't know what we want to call
Let's
it even.
get baseball over with.
Yeah.
Okay, you weren't here last week. Garrett Cole, what the CB what? And I never heard
I was
from
actually
you.
I was
Were
because
you,
I
was-
were
I
you
was-
in a dark
she
hole
was in a
somewhere?
silent
I was,
retreat.
I was depressed. I was depressed. I was like, as soon as I saw it come through on my phone, I just started cursing, and
Yep.
I told my dad, and then he started. I was looking forward to this season. Actually,
Oh, absolutely.
They made
Love
some
the moves.
They made some great moves.
Great moves.
They had some, and I was like, oh, our starting pitching actually doesn't look bad
Looked phenomenal,
for
actually.
the first
Better than
time
the
in
Mets.
years. And then we fucking lose.
Then we lose
Garrett
our
Cole
ace.
for a year.
I saw the headline and I went, oh, I think I was at the Odd and I looked.
And we just paid him.
Yeah.
We just paid him. God
Do
damn.
all superstar pitchers have to go through this at least once in their career? I
Now
feel
they do.
like the
I
Now they
percentage
do.
is going up.
Because they're throwing harder,
Yeah.
Yep.
longer.
Yeah.
Not longer. Well, Garrett throws a lot of pitches, but
gonna say,
they're
he's lost some
throwing at a
innings.
higher velocity. The elbow, that ligament just can't take the torque.
Right.
And so we're
That,
seeing.
yeah, the torque.
Yeah, and they're depending on what those athletic trainers, it's just they can't recover.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just gonna keep breaking down. They're gonna, as they get older, they have harder
Yeah.
time recovering. Not
The cool
shocked.
thing is that they do come back. You know, years ago, back in my time, years ago, it would end a career.
Yeah.
Garrett
sometime.
Cole's not the youngest person in the world,
No.
though. So will he come back as
Well,
Garrett
now
Cole?
You're gonna make me more sad here.
Yeah.
He had a. I
Even
mean,
Big
it kind
Poppy's
of
upset.
makes sense because he had an off year. So I'm like, okay, now it fucking makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
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 But
Do they make a trade now or do they make a trade mid-season? I mean, I think they would have made it now.
I think
Yeah.
they have
were
to
gonna-
wait till
going-
midseason
going
just
to.
to see.
yeah,
But yeah, it's disheartening because when you're a Giants fan, you really just can't wait for baseball.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
After
Yeah.
like the first 5 weeks, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, when's baseball start? So, like,
You can be excited for the draft too.
yes, definitely
Yeah.
excited, but
I mean, I
I
watched
mean-
an interview with Prime. He's just
I just
loving
love
life.
him. I just
Yeah.
love that guy.
Somebody asked him, it was supposed to be for CU football, and then somebody said, well, with the draft coming up, are you stressed? He had a cowboy hat on and the sunglasses on, and he goes, do I look stressed? And then he takes his sunglasses off. He goes, no, really, look at me. Do I look stressed? And he's like, I'm not stressed at all. And the Sanders family doesn't get stressed. And I'm
No.
like, no, you guys don't.
Joe says, I have to run for now. We'll catch up next week. Go Auburn and Duke.
Auburn and Duke. I'll write
okay.
that down, Joe.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. I'll write down Auburn and Duke for you. All right. So very sad about Garrett Cole. Extremely sad.
Yes.
Hey, half the Mets pitching staff's down too.
That's true.
So
That's
they're
true.
going to have to score 10 runs a game.
You got Juan Soto.
Yeah.
When you were talking about, though, I'm going to digress and go back to Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. It reminds me of the Miami Dolphins I grew up with, where Dan Marino had to throw
Yeah.
and throw
Throw and
until
throw.
his arm was going to fall off
Yep.
because there was absolutely no defense.
Yep.
And you had to score 38, 45
Yep.
points. So I just had to, it stuck in my head. So the baseball season started with a 4-1 win for the Dodgers. So the World
Shocking.
Series
Whoa.
champs
Shocking.
Woo!
Shocking.
over in Tokyo. And there's a little gap now, 2-week gap.
Yeah.
And then the MLB will start.
Obviously, the Dodgers are going to play in Tokyo. They
Obviously.
have half the
I was
Japanese
just gonna
national
say.
team.
Did Yamamoto pitch in that game? He must have. I think he did.
Yeah.
and he
think he
pitched stellar. He pitched a
Yamamoto.
gem.
Yeah.
CBS did their top 100 players for the 2025 season. Okay, I'm just going to read them, and I'm going to watch your faces as I read them. Yordan Alvarez, I hope I said his name right, is number 10, the DH for the 28-year-old designated
Jordan.
hitter for the Astros.
Jordan, yeah.
Oh, did I say?
Alvarez.
I knew I said it
Yeah,
wrong.
he's a monster.
So you like that?
He's a
Yeah,
monster.
he's
He's a monster.
Jose Ramirez, number 9, the third baseman for the Cleveland Guardians. One home run away from a 40-40 season last year. So kind of got to give him that. Gold Glove,
Yep.
third baseman. So we agree on 10 and 9. Excellent. Number 8, Francisco Lindor. Number 7, Mookie Betts. Number 6, Tarek Skubal, who Tigers Cy Young winner.
Yep.
So nice to see a pitcher in there.
Yep. Yep.
I actually think he's the only pitcher in the top 10.
Yeah, because
He
they always
is.
talk about how pitchers aren't real athletes.
Yeah.
So cool that Skubal made it.
Yep.
Number 5, Juan Soto. Number 4, because it's the age of the shortstops, Gunnar Henderson from the Orioles.
A little early.
Yeah.
A little early.
Yeah, that's
little
Wow,
early.
too.
I wouldn't
Okay.
put him anywhere near that.
no.
Number 3, Aaron Judge.
Okay.
Number 2, Bobby Witt.
Okay.
My
yeah.
boy.
Nice.
Should have had you switch into that
Should have
shirt
worn
for her.
this shirt today.
And of course, we all know number 1 is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
So the only one you're not agreeing with CBS on is Gunnar. A little
Yeah.
high.
Well, that's high.
Early.
So I'll give you 11 and 12. Julio Rodriguez,
Yeah.
J-Rod from the
Love-
Mariners.
Love
Yep.
me some J-Rod.
And 12 is Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So you kind of have to
Makes
include
sense.
him.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So CBS
Honestly,
did okay.
I probably would have put like Paul Skeens in the top and took
I would
Yeah.
have.
took Henderson out.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm like, whoa,
But
Gunnar
no,
Henderson.
Cruz, De La Cruz.
No. Thank you for saying that. And I didn't go any farther than 12 because I'm sure he's got to be
He's gotta
somewhere
be-
in that top 50. He
Yeah.
has to
He
be.
has to be.
Top 30
Yeah.
even. He is one of the most exciting players
Yes.
in the game.
I am so happy that Bobby Witt is second. I
Yes.
just love him.
When I started to scroll and write them down in my notes, I thought I was going to see Judge or Soto second. So when I saw Bobby Witt, I was beaming.
Yeah, love
I'm
that.
Like, thank
Love
you
that.
so much for putting Bobby Witt in there. So that's it right
was
now
in-
for MLB.
He was 31. Ellie.
Ellie? Okay.
He's 31. See, we said top
50.
Top 30. Yep,
Yeah,
top
top
50, top 30.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk WNBA?
Yeah.
Napisha Collier says we need to talk now. So that's another thing of best thing I heard. I'm prolonging that. We need to talk now that the WNBA players are internally discussing the possibility of a work stoppage.
They have the best bargaining chips right now. After the success of Unrivaled,
Yep.
where there's another option where they made just as much money. Again, it was fewer players, but they made just as much money in that
Yep.
Unrivaled season as they did in the W.
I love getting CB talking about it because she gets, and I love it.
Negotiate now. You got the power.
They continue their negotiations with the league on a new collective bargaining agreement. Collier said that no one wants a lockout. The players are prepared for any possibility right now.
Do it.
Then it's going to feed right into what you're saying. We are ready to lead transformational change that goes beyond women's sport and sets a precedent for something greater. And that comes from WNBPA President Neke Agumake. Opting out isn't just about bigger paychecks. You're going to love this, you two. It's about claiming our rightful share of the business we've built.
Hell yeah.
Improving work conditions, and securing a future where the success we create benefits today's players and the generations to come. We're not just asking for a CBA that reflects our value, we're demanding it because we've earned it.
Hell yeah.
Now is the time. CB is absolutely right.
Yep.
Yes.
It's right now.
I
for them.
loved those quotes. I loved what Collier.
Could you imagine if they were like, all right, we're sitting out, and Caitlin Clark just goes out there and be like, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
You
So sorry.
You know how pissed people are going to be?
Right? But now is the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're right, Unrivaled just put it farther up.
Yeah.
And they had childcare.
Yep.
The players were directly profiting off of the sale of their jerseys.
Yep.
Which I don't. Does that happen in the W?
That I don't know.
I don't know.
That I don't know.
With the Unrivaled jerseys, like if you bought that player's jersey, that player got money off of that purchase. which I
And
think
they
was
should.
great. Yeah, exactly.
They
I mean,
should.
yeah,
So we'd have
exactly.
to dig on that one, but
Right.
they 100% should.
Yeah.
So now is the time.
Now is 100% the time.
I can't see there being a work stoppage. They do have to dig their heels in and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with it being women's sports and the WNBA being where it is, you can't put a stoppage in there
No.
because it is at an all-time high. It is so
Yeah.
freaking popular. It is
Yeah.
off the charts.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So we'll see, right?
Yeah.
I just was reading that today and I'm like, oh, we should chat about it, but we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Everything that was in that article I just read, now's the time.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And you see them on every commercial now,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
which I
Oh, yeah.
love.
There's so many commercials now with female athletes. It's amazing.
I
love
just
it.
watched an SQ walking into arena with Shaq. I don't know what it was
Yeah.
about. Home Depot?
Right. Yeah.
The fans?
Home Depot. It was awesome.
I was like, wait, I just caught the tail end and I'm like, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
Yep.
I
Love
love
it.
that. I do want to digress and go back to two other things the best things I saw or heard. The Green Bay Packers are proposing a ban on the tush push. So I'm going back to the NFL.
Okay, good.
And the Detroit Lions think that there should be a change in seating in the
That
NFL.
makes sense. That makes sense.
So we don't need Commissioner
that's a
Goodall.
valid.
That's a valid.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is
You're
because
9-7 winning the South in
Yeah.
the NFC,
And
but you're
get-
the fourth seed.
yes,
That makes no sense.
and there's a wild card team that's
11 wins.
right.
right.
I absolutely agree with that.
I agree.
100%.
Too. And I agree with the tush push being banned.
Yes.
Yep, I agree with both those things.
Just from a player safety, they're so on.
Yep.
Like it doesn't make sense because last year, with all the changes that they made and their big thing on concussion protocols, new helmets, the longevity of players.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like literally you're taking the quarterback and the center
They're
are
cramming
taking
him.
are taking the force of the whole offensive line. It just doesn't make sense.
I wouldn't want to do that if I was
No.
Jalen Hurts. I'd be like, no.
No.
It just doesn't make
And
sense.
now we have Saquon Barkley, so I don't
Yeah.
have to do
right.
it.
Exactly.
Right.
The little nugget, though, as I was reading about Green Bay, the article said, well, they did get beat up in the playoffs by the Eagles and the tush push.
But then you look
And they
at
try to run it with their tight ends,
Yeah.
which I'm like, well, I'd rather you ran
Yeah.
with your tight
Yeah,
ends than
who are
your
much
quarterback.
bigger. And then like
Jordan Love's not going to do that.
fucking look at
Or
Josh
should he?
Allen in the Super Bowl. Like it wasn't successful, and he just literally kept ramming his
Oh.
head in the same spot
Same spot.
over and
God, it
over
makes
and
my neck
over.
hurt.
Painful to watch.
Exactly. I'm like, this isn't good.
No.
And you're right, CB. You just said it perfectly. We're worried about the safety of these players.
Yep.
So why?
Why?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jalen Hurts is such a good pro that he doesn't say anything. I would have been saying something
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, they talk about hands, quarterbacks' hands, and how they have to be bigger. Coming out of college, his neck has probably shrunk
Yeah.
in the last 2 or 3
Well,
years.
and the poor center. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, the center and the quarterback.
Yeah,
man.
That's why Kelsey's like, I'm out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm retiring. I can
Didn't
go
he
do
say
commercials.
like every time they were doing the tush push, he'd be like, "Fuck me."
yeah. Yeah.
And now he's laying on a carpet in front of a fireplace
Yep.
doing chunky soup commercials. He's not getting hurt at all there.
Not at all. Loving life.
So I had to go back to those because it was just fresh, and Wheels and I were chatting about it before we went on the air. A lot of changes, and I love that organizations are bringing it to the forefront.
I agree.
Commissioner Goodall got to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
But the playoff, the seeding is interesting.
It is interesting.
Says
Makes
Detroit,
sense.
who's still licking their wounds from losing to
Oh, yeah.
Washington,
Washington.
Yeah.
who had the 10 or 11 wins
Yeah.
and was, I think, the last seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were the 1 seed.
Yeah.
It's not, I think. So, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that they're licking their wounds, but they're not wrong.
No,
No,
they are not.
They're not.
They're not wrong at all. So now we get to the portion, the second half. We're at near the end of halfway through the third quarter, where we're going to talk about the March Madness.
Oh baby.
Oh,
And
boy.
obviously, I have a lot of March Madness in me. I didn't think you're getting ready for it. You're like, oh, I can't wait for Thursday. I literally stayed up to watch the entire San Diego State UNC game
Yep.
that was done at halftime.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it was a
like,
blowout.
What am I doing?
The game
Just
before
3
that
minutes
was a
ago.
great game. Did you watch the game before that?
Oh, that game
Before
was
that was
all
that
about
good.
madness.
The third,
Alabama State.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
full court pass. I was like, damn.
That game
That-
sums up March Madness.
That
Yes.
was so
was
fun
the
to watch.
definition
That was
of March
so
Madness.
fun to watch.
Yep.
That was better than the Christian Leitner, Grant Hill to
Oh
Christian
my God, that was
Leitner.
awesome.
It really was. So that was a Alabama State over St. Francis
Yep.
to get the 16th seed. The game I was talking about is for an 11th seed.
Yep.
And the final score was 95-68.
Yep.
But with 3:13 to go, I'm like, it's like 11:30 something. And I'm like, what am I doing? Game's done. North Carolina's, and I think I just wanted North Carolina to move on so bad
Yes,
Yeah.
so did I.
that I watched a game that literally was done because RJ Davis, maybe
6
that
for
was
6.
it. He could not
miss.
And there was one time in the first half where the shot clock was running out. I can't remember the guard that was trying to get a little dribble drive, and there's like 3 seconds on the shot clock, and he's like, crap, and he pivots, and there's Davis who has to chuck it 3 feet beyond
Yeah,
the
I saw
three-point
that,
arc.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing but net, and I'm just like, this kid is beyond in the zone.
So my question is this: that when it comes to the seedings and the pairings and whatever, why on earth, if you're in the first 4, like the play-in games, UNC was the last team picked to be in the field. Why are they playing as an 11th
11th
seed?
seed?
That makes
That's
no
what
sense.
I would
do
love
not
this.
understand.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't understand
There's a whole bunch
anything
of
for the
controversy
most-
with them even being picked.
But there's like
Yeah.
teams that actually won their conference.
Sure.
Yeah.
That are 16 and 15.
Yeah.
But UNC got in by literally because they're UNC.
Exactly.
And they're 11.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I feel like if you're in the first 4 playing games, they should all be 16 seeds.
100%.
In my
I
opinion.
agree.
100%. 100%.
You need to be on that committee.
I don't get it. It's so frustrating for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like,
And the same thing's happening again tonight, where we will have at 6:40, so it's about to start in 10
Yep.
minutes. Number 16 Mount St. Mary's going up against number 16 American Eagles,
right.
and then at 9:10 it's number 11 Xavier and number 11 Texas.
Right.
But if you look at Texas' record, 19 and 15.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
19 and 15.
So why are you 11?
Why are you 11?
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing about a team who's not even playing a play-in game, and I don't know where they are on here, but they had 15 losses as well, and that was Baylor. The Baylor Bears, who I said,
Yeah, 19 and 14.
19 and 14, and they made the field.
Yep. As a 9 seed.
I mean, is it because of who you are? Texas, Xavier, North Carolina.
Yep.
I just don't. I will never understand that.
I
Why
don't
are you not?
understand
Why is
it
it not all the 16 seats? Because I
Because
feel
you're playing
bad.
into the field, into that spot.
Right,
You're playing
right.
in ahead of Thursday's start to the tournament.
But you're playing in and you're going as an 11.
Yep.
Like when there's
You get
like
to
I
pop
said,
right up in there.
like Omaha won their conference and they're 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
And UNC barely
Because
made it in their
they're
11.
a smaller conference.
It's just
Makes
And
sense.
I thought it was funny that the chairman of the committee is the athletic director
Yes.
at North Carolina. But don't worry, he wasn't in the room when the voting took place about North Carolina. I do have North Carolina going a few rounds.
I do too.
though. I mean, that Ole Miss game's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. But I have them beating Ole Miss, and then I have them beating Iowa State, which is probably not going to happen. But Iowa State is down a very, very important player. So Garrett Sicily will probably be stopping by next week to talk Sweet 16. That guy can break down a men's bracket like it's nobody's business. So his final 4, and I had to laugh because I think it's mine as well. Auburn out of the South, Florida out of the West, so you're going 1 and 1. Duke out of the East, and Tennessee out of the Midwest, who is the 2 seed. That is exactly who I went with as well. And we both have Duke over Florida. And again, I picked Duke and I picked the UConn women in November. So
You did.
I'm going to stick with that. And we've got, what did Joe said? Auburn and Duke. Is that who he said? Auburn and Duke. So now I throw the bounce pass your way, and I'm going to fill it in to who you guys think will be Final Four, and then who Who's cutting the nets down? And anybody else that wants to chime in, please do. Take us on. I'll write it down in my beautiful, I always use
I hope
a
Sammy
notebook.
Drake is listening because I gave her a bracket to fill
Sammy.
out and
Oh.
she's stressed out about it.
Sammy, fill it out and let us know.
So I told her, listen to the podcast.
Yep.
She's been Googling, Sammy.
Yep.
She's got
There's a million articles written.
Yep. She's
and just know.
Or use the Chat GPT. See how that goes.
Right.
Use the AI. See how that goes.
I'm going to fill you guys in with, again, reading an article on CBS. I listened to the experts Sunday after the brackets were out on ESPN. It was Jay Williams and all those guys. They all 4 picked Florida. All 4 of them. And I'm like, definitely not picking Florida now that you got all 4. CBS, there was a panel of 8, excuse me. 1 picked Florida out of 8.
Oh, wow.
Only 1. 1 picked Florida, 1 picked Auburn, 2 picked Houston, and 4 picked Duke.
Wow.
And I know you guys initially had picked Houston.
Yeah. Real quick, Jen says 2 brackets, hate both, too much chalk. First Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston. The other is Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. Final,
I like the Michigan State one.
Mm-hmm.
Final in both Florida and Duke. Have Florida winning 1 and Duke winning the other. Jen, we'll get to the women's. You want to go first, Wheels? Or you want me to go
Sure.
first?
I mean,
I'm going to have to write down Jen's
I'm
tomorrow.
literally useless at work this week
Man.
between Monday and Tuesday doing brackets because I do 7 and then narrow it down to one where I just write and I don't even think. So I did change because initially I said Houston, but after watching the conference games and whatnot, my final 4 is Auburn, Florida, pains me to say Duke, Houston.
Okay.
My championship is Florida, pains me even more to say it, Duke. And I cannot and will not write
Okay.
Duke in the final. So it's Florida.
So Florida over Duke,
Yes.
right? Okay.
I gave Duke as much penmanship as I could do. I cannot give him
enough,
any
bud.
more.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
But also, so I didn't pick Duke because
Love that.
I'll be so happy if I'm wrong.
How many times do
Right.
you how many times do you just see everyone being like, "Oh, this team's got it this year," and
Yeah.
they rarely do they ever make it.
Do they
Correct.
ever make it? It's true.
So my final 4 is Michigan State,
Whoops. Good job going with my mom's team. Okay.
Florida,
Yep.
Duke, and Houston. And
Nobody
then
wants Tennessee, huh? Or you guys are high on Houston.
Yeah.
in my final I have Florida and Houston,
Okay.
with Houston taking it.
Okay, so Houston over Florida.
Yeah.
Way to stick to your initial.
Yeah.
That was good. After watching Florida, I just was so impressed with them.
I know Florida looks really good.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Florida, but
Yeah.
I was like,
damn, they look good.
I was like, no, I went with Houston.
and
I'm
their
just gonna go with
bracket, their
Houston.
side of the bracket's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty,
not as bad. It's not as
right. It's not as difficult as
Yeah.
the others.
Yeah.
So.
Do you guys, when you're filling out your bracket, did you look at any of the games and go, holy shit, I can't miss that one in Thursday through Friday? Mine were Arkansas over Kansas.
Same.
Oh wait, I had that too.
Absolutely. 100%.
I had that
I think
too.
that's 7 something tomorrow night. And how much fun, and this is the committee, don't you dare tell me you're not doing this, putting, if it happens, Calipari versus Rick Pitino.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pay-per-view TV
Yep.
right there. There was another game that I looked at and went, oh my God, I can't miss that one as well. Oh, UConn at 8 versus Oklahoma at 9.
Yep.
And I like that. I've watched Oklahoma a few times this year.
Yep.
That's a tough matchup for UConn to open with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the committee a little bit lambasted UConn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gave them, okay, we're going to
Yeah.
give you a 8. We got to give you a tough 9 Oklahoma, and then if you win,
Florida.
you have Florida.
Yeah.
I know. I saw that. I was like, oh, they just fucking
Have fun.
I'm like, you're
sucks to
either
be UConn.
you've had enough of Coach Hurley,
Yep.
who I watched him again
He's so annoying.
within
Oh
the
my
last
gosh.
week and a half, 2 weeks.
so
and I'm
obnoxious.
Like, just stop.
He's so
like
obnoxious.
he can hear me. I'm screaming at him.
He loves to hear himself talk.
He
That's
does.
it. That's it.
I mean, he's a fabulous, phenomenal coach, but Coach, stop.
Stop talking.
Just stop. The
you guys-
experts were saying watch BYU and VCU.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Who'd you guys pick in that one?
I did BYU.
I did too, because I've watched them so much this year that I'm like,
I went with the upset. I went with VCU.
did you?
Yeah.
Good
I do
upset
have some
pick.
upsets.
Yeah.
Tell me some upsets.
So I have Yale beating Texas A&M.
Ooh.
But yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, Yale's
gotta star that one.
Yale's on a winning streak. Another upset I have is Colorado State over Memphis.
Like that one. That's the one
Yeah.
I struggled with. And I took the wimpy way
The
out. and went
Arkansas,
with-
Kansas.
Yep.
And I also have Utah
I went
State
Colorado.
beating UCLA.
I went with Colorado State too.
I stared at that one forever and couldn't go against my UCLA.
It's a battle.
Oh, actually, I lied to you. Look,
I took
it's
Utah.
not even filled in because I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Are you
took
done?
Utah.
Yeah,
Did
it's
you?
a battle
Yeah.
of two really defensive teams.
Those are my same upsets.
maybe I'll
Are
Bills?
they? Nice.
My
And I think
upset
that's
was
it.
number 11 Drake over number 6 Missouri.
I struggled with that one
Oh, I took Drake.
as well.
I did a lot of upsets.
I did
but
Drake,
the
and
men's,
I might go Utah
The men's
State.
brackets are usually insane.
Yeah.
The first
Yes.
rounds are usually
Yes.
so I took a lot of upsets.
The women's ones, not so much.
No.
Never is. When are we
No.
going to have a crazy year in women's? Because it always follows suit. It's like all the way through, and the men's is all over the place.
I took a couple of upsets in the women, but not a lot.
No.
So that was good. We picked some good first rounders, and I'm glad you guys. Okay, one more game I do have to ask you guys about. Number 8 Gonzaga versus number 9 Georgia Bulldogs.
I'm going with Gonzaga, and I honestly think
I think I took.
if Houston's going to have a game, it's going to be against Gonzaga.
Against-
Yeah,
Gonzaga.
I agree.
They
I
match
agree.
up very nicely
I
with
agree.
them.
I'm actually looking forward to
Yeah.
If Gonzaga wins, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
that
Coach
game.
White and Georgia had pulled off a couple of really good upsets this year, so I like that team. But I watched Gonzaga in their conference championship playing St. Mary's, who they always struggle with, and they put it together. So I'm
Yep.
hoping they're keeping it
Yep.
together. I also picked Gonzaga. Okay, moving on then to the women's side. And before we get to the women's side, we have a couple of coaches we're going to talk about because they're whining too much.
Oh,
And I'm going to say it first, being the Dawn Staley fan that I am. Despite being a number 1 seed for the 5th consecutive year, Dawn Staley has questions about the decision making for the overall number 1 seed, which went to UCLA. And I'm going to take what Wheel said because it's exactly what I said yesterday. You got a number 1 seed.
Yep.
Just take it.
Yeah.
right.
And we feel, because
Yep.
we've talked about it before, that you got the best region.
Oh,
region
100%.
to
Yeah.
get to a Final Four.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Coach Staley. I love you, but stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And UCLA,
They kicked
yes,
their butt,
they
didn't
got the demon off their back when
Yeah.
they beat USC in
Yeah.
the Big Ten championship. Meanwhile, USC's coach, Lindsay Gottlieb, feels as a number 1 seed, she feels completely disrespected. And you guys can fill in why she feels disrespected because you're right on.
Because she's got to face UConn.
Yep.
And there it is.
Yep. And I tell you what, those two coaches feeling disrespected or questioning, the one coach who has a right to say that shit is Gino, and
So-
he has not.
So Jen says UConn is the first team with the net ranking of 1, the best ranking, to
Yep.
not get a 1 seed.
Right.
What the fuck?
Right. And they're in the same bracket as USC.
Yep.
I mean, that's a
Kentucky.
tough side of the
Yeah,
bracket.
that is so. They have the hardest route.
So if any coach or team should be
Yep.
complaining, it's UConn, and you haven't heard of Pete.
Nope.
Yep.
Jen also says lowest seed to win the women's tourney is a 3, rare at least up until now for a big upset.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also don't think UCLA and USC should have been number 1s. UConn should have slid in there somewhere.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
So
I agree.
I don't agree with a lot of it. I think the whole disrespect thing is ridiculous, but to me, UConn's a 1. Like, how are you
Absolutely.
not a 1?
Me too.
Every time they showed Joe Lenardi or whoever was predicting they were a 2, and I'm like, I'm confused as to why UConn is a 2.
No.
She also went on to say, Coach Gottlieb, sometimes I don't understand the people who make decision in women's college basketball and why they do what they do. We wonder why they do what they do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
To
why you're a
UConn.
1 seed.
Yep.
Yeah.
To
I-
UConn.
I think if I was on the
But
committee,
you're complaining.
right, I would have put UConn 1, UCLA 2 is how I would have done it.
You would put UCLA
Yes,
2,
because-
but not USC 2?
No, because,
But UCLA won their conference.
right. But
Uh-huh.
USC beat them twice in the regular season, to me. I understand the importance of conference tournaments.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But
Now you're playing into Don Staley's hands, though.
but
Because
Yeah.
then if UCLA ended up being the overall number 1 seed, which they did, they ended up being the overall
right,
number 1 seed
which
for the season.
I don't agree with that either. But
So if it's not UCLA, then it would have gone to strength of schedule.
Right.
And that's the only thing that hurts UConn, though.
right,
Yes.
Their lack of strength
right,
of
and their
schedule
their
in their
conference. is
That's
not-
it. That's
is
it.
not good. But,
But it has to be thrown out there.
Yeah.
that
either way,
they do-
UConn should have been a 1.
Oh,
Like, if-
absolutely.
absolutely.
Will.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. See, I had more or less UConn and USC flipping. And maybe I gave too much to the conference title. But when the committee gave the overall number
Yeah.
1 seed
Yeah.
to UCLA, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, were they number 1 the longest throughout the year?
I think
they
so.
were.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Then
were.
that- yeah.
They definitely were because it wasn't a good thing to be number 1 near
Right.
the end of
At
the
the
season.
end. No, yeah.
And you can't even dismiss Texas. They did get a 1 seed.
Right.
But yes, they lost to South Carolina
Yep.
in the
Bad.
SEC championship.
Bad.
And I agree with what you're saying. I would have flipped
Yeah,
USC.
I
and
can
UConn.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and I do think they look at the strength of schedule, but you also got to look at the teams that UConn did beat.
Right.
I know their conference may not be the toughest conference out there, but you really got to look at who they beat as well, because they beat up. They gave South Carolina the wake-up call.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
They definitely
yeah.
Oh,
did.
yeah.
So with that being said, I'm going to read Garrett's first, because if he was sitting here in studio, I would just lambaste him. All year long, that man picked Notre Dame. So when he sent it to me, he said, "Don't be mad at me." And I looked at his picks and I'm like, he put Notre Dame in the final because he had to. He had to.
Okay.
So anyways, he went UCLA, UConn, Duke, and Notre Dame.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yes.
wait, because he's a Duke guy. So,
Yes, he was
yeah.
a Duke guy.
Okay.
And then he did pick UConn over Notre Dame. He had to keep Notre Dame in there
Yep.
because he picked them all season long. One time he said it with no reservation, no hesitation. He's like, Notre Dame. Granted, this was when Notre Dame was playing better.
Right.
Yeah.
I won't count. What I was shocked with was Notre Dame falling to a 3 seed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
That
had 'em as a
TCU
2.
had a
Yeah.
higher season.
Yes, that TCU had a higher season. Notre
TCU
Dame.
is 2. I was like,
Yep.
damn. But how about TCU Louisville
Louisville?
matchup?
Yep.
That is the
they-
game I
they-
cannot wait.
That's
to
the
watch.
one I started. I'm like,
they
"Ooh."
scripted that shit.
Oh, yeah.
They
They
scripted
did.
that
Yeah.
shit.
Come on, Calipari Patino possibility.
Come on.
Come on,
Haley
right?
Van Lith going
Come
back to
on.
play Louisville.
Yeah.
Not going back to Louisville, but playing Louisville in March.
That's why
Madness.
TCU got that second seed.
Yeah. that is going to be so good.
Oh,
so good.
Chef's kiss.
And I will tell you this. I literally was trying to pick TCU to go to the Final Four.
I was
really,
trying to.
Me too.
really tried.
Me too.
I mean,
can't.
it was hard enough for me to pick him over Notre Dame.
No, that's impressive that you did.
But I did pick him over Notre Dame.
Wow.
Wow.
And so that's
And you
me
love
going
Notre
against
Dame.
my
And
Notre
you
Dame
love
team.
Notre Dame.
Yep.
Wow.
I love Notre Dame. And I think, shame on me, because I think Notre Dame will figure it out. Now that you've had that week and a half off, get back in the gym, let's get back to fundamentals. Notre Dame just could not handle being a 1 seed.
No.
No.
No, not at all.
So maybe the chip is literally planted back on their shoulders now that they're a 3, because I thought they had a 2. And then you put them in the same region with Texas, TCU, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's
And-
rough, buddy.
My other team, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in one of the regions, that region for sure, the Birmingham 3 region, I went with my heart instead of my head.
Okay.
Because I literally picked Tennessee over Ohio State.
Yeah,
Just
you did.
my heart. It's just my heart. And I went.
Oh, I chose them too.
Actually, my head picked TCU over Notre Dame because in their conference championship, where they played Baylor again, the Big 12, I said there's no way Haley Van Lith is going to let her team lose this conference championship.
No.
she's going to carry them, and she did.
Yep.
They've got the big in the middle.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think they're playing with so much confidence right now. So I went UCLA, UConn. I did go with South Carolina. Oh, I did. That one was tough for me. I almost picked Duke over South Carolina, but I did go South Carolina and Texas. And my final is UConn over Texas,
Wow.
not South Carolina.
Wow.
So there it is.
Jen has UCLA, UConn, Duke, and Notre Dame, with UConn and Notre Dame with UConn winning over Notre Dame in the final.
UConn over
Wow.
Notre Dame.
You guys are high on Duke.
So,
Wow. I have Duke winning once.
wait, Jen's is UConn over Duke or Notre Dame?
Over
Notre
Dame.
Okay. All right, Wheels.
All right.
Lay it on us.
I have, and I will say the Spokane one was the hardest one for me, as far as like who gets
Spokane
to the
won?
yeah,
Yep.
who gets to the final,
Oh, yep.
or who gets to the final four.
Isn't it hard to not respect LSU at least?
Yeah, and NC State is good, man.
No, but they're in walking boots, man.
NC
yeah,
State is-
LSU is hurting dog.
LSU is hurt.
But
NC State is good.
NC State is good though.
They're
NC State
they're
is really
playing
good.
really good, and they're
UCLA
fast.
has a hard time.
They do.
They have a hard
They do.
path.
Yeah, but I stuck with UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, which was I wasn't really. I'm not totally confident with this side of the bracket
Right?
Same.
at all.
Same.
At all. And I went back and forth. Everyone knows I love Texas, and I'm a huge
Yep.
Texas fan. But I did go with Notre Dame from the beginning.
did.
Yep.
Okay.
So
You're sticking?
So I'm sticking with them to make the Final Four. However, I don't have them in the final. So I have UConn versus South Carolina, and UConn winning.
Ooh, last year's rematch.
Yep.
UConn over South Carolina. All right.
That's what I have. But
You know, it's hard. You're right. UCLA having to play Baylor possibly or Ole Miss, and then NC State and LSU is going to be a dogfight.
Yeah,
if that plays out that way. And Duke is playing their best ball right now.
I know
So
you guys have Duke going really far. I do not. I am super impressed with Vandy. Yeah. Super.
I
That
want
freshman,
Vandy.
those freshmen
I
are
love
good.
Vandy,
Yep.
and that's Shea Ralph's team. I love Vandy.
And I have
really
them
do. I love
going
Vandy.
To the Elite Eight.
So you have Vandy over Duke.
Yes.
I'm gonna,
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I'm gonna write that one down too, because I love that pick.
Yep.
I wanted to,
Yep.
and I didn't. So kudos. I was too busy picking
I mean,
TCU over Notre Dame.
I put the Duke men in the final, so I could not. I mean, I love Handle Hard better, but
Handle hard better.
Vandy's freshmen are impressive.
CB, UCLA. Are we going?
Yep. So
Okay.
UCLA and UConn,
Okay.
and then I have Duke and Notre Dame. With, I think I chose UCLA from the get-go. So I chose UCLA over Notre Dame in the finals.
Ooh.
Nice. Way different.
Yeah.
So you have UCLA knocking out UConn.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's a good matchup.
Yeah.
So we've got UConn, UCLA, UConn with Jen. Okay, we got a lot of UConn going. No pressure there.
I just do not want another UCLA USC game. Like, I'm sick of them.
UCLA who?
And
Yeah,
USC.
USC.
Oh yeah. No, I don't want that either.
Like,
And, you
nobody
know-
wants to see a game where they've already played each other 3 times.
Right.
It's hard to not put USC in the final too.
Oh, it's 100%,
because
yeah.
Yeah.
The most epic game, regular season game, was that USC UConn game. That was so good.
Yeah.
Because it went right down to the wire. Yeah, I get UConn beating South Carolina, big win, and UCLA and USC's battles, but that UConn USC game
Yes.
had me on literally the edge
It
of
was so fun.
Yeah.
my seat.
So fun.
It was so amazing. So you guys said you had some upsets though in the women's
Yes.
side. Throw some upsets out there, because my biggest upset, I think, is picking TCU over Notre Dame. But that's
a
later
big
on.
one.
That's a big,
later on.
but that's a big one.
I have 2 first-round upsets.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
I have Harvard beating Michigan State.
Okay,
Oh, nice.
right here. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
looked
one.
at that one. Didn't pick it, but looked
And
at it.
in the same bracket, Spokane won. I don't know why, but
Oh, I had Harvard too.
Grand Canyon over
I was
Baylor.
going to say something about Baylor, right?
Yep.
I hesitated. Kudos to you for making them because I said I'm just not impressed with Baylor. But I'm not impressed every time I watch Baylor because they're always playing TCU.
Yeah, I know.
And for some reason, TCU just has their number.
And then moving on, like I have with my heart, Iowa winning their first round game,
Yep.
and then also beating Oklahoma to face UConn in a rematch from last year.
I love that.
I
did pick
struggled
Iowa.
so much.
I
on that
just,
one.
I can't. Iowa has my heart.
Iowa has
They're playing
a piece
really
of my
good,
heart.
too.
I
Yeah, they're
picked
playing
them in the
really good.
first round.
Me too.
And went back and forth, and went with Oklahoma. I don't know why. I think it's Beers in the middle for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
She's so good.
Yep.
And then I
But-
have Vandy going all the way to the Elite Eight, which is a huge.
I like your
That's-
Vandy
yeah,
picks.
me too.
Upset
They're
Central.
so fun. And my other one, obviously, is Tennessee over Ohio State to get to the Sweet 16.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that's just
your
me
heart.
going, yep, that's
Yep.
my heart.
I
my
get it.
heart, 100%. CB, you got any opening round ones? I don't have any real opening round ones, though.
I had the Harvard pick,
Okay, so you both got Harvard.
and then I had. I'm trying to look. I should have printed this out because I have to like scroll.
Yep. Trying to look. I think some great first round. I love the 8, 9, 7.
I had Georgia
7,
Tech
10.
over Richmond, but that's not too big of a.
I had Georgia Tech as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not too big of a one. And then I feel like I had other ones.
And I think another 8, 9 game. Nope, they're 8 actually. I think a really good first round game is going to be Utah and Indiana. Of course, those 8, 9 games are off the charts
Yeah.
good. Florida State. Nope, that's not an 8, 9 game.
Yeah, I don't have any other real.
California, Mississippi. That one was a tough one. And I really wanted to pick Ole Miss over Baylor, and I didn't, and I'm going to regret that one. I really am.
Oh, I did. I picked that.
So next week we'll try to see if Garrett will stop in. He'll be able to break down the men's Sweet 16.
Karen says Harvard is fun to watch.
Yes, she has been saying that. Let the madness begin. When's tip of the first game? Is it a noon game?
I think it's noon tomorrow.
Okay. Years ago, our softball crew would make a 48-hour event of it.
Love it.
We would literally work half days on
Yeah.
Thursday, take Friday off.
Yep.
Sometimes have a sleepover and go into Saturday. We don't do that anymore the older we get.
Yeah, I used to take Thursday and Friday off.
Yes, me too. Never
And my
hesitated.
friends and I would go to the sports
should
bar,
have.
and we would be there all day.
Right.
We would have 3 different waitresses. We'd have all our meals at the bar.
Yep.
Nice.
And it was so fun. Yeah, but now we don't do that either.
Is it because we get older?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I'll just, go over to M's after work
Yeah.
tomorrow. And, well, if anyone wants to do anything on Friday, I'll go after work. I'm not taking Friday off. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? And my only answer is we get older.
Yep.
Okay. So
Amen.
great job, you guys. Let the madness begin.
Let it begin. I cannot wait.
And it's so fun when we get to the end of the first weekend because you're already at your Sweet 16 in 4 days. But then I get not bored because the games get harder. But I'm always like,
There's more time in between.
yeah. I'm like, well, no. Where's all those games going on
Yeah.
at the same time? And
Yeah.
we're going here and we're going there.
Yep.
Yep.
So tune into all the madness this weekend.
Can't
'cause
wait.
It is just so fun.
It's gonna be awesome.
And if you're bored and want to travel, the North-South All-Star Games
Yes.
are down in Windsor on
Yes.
Saturday.
Sammy will be going. Sammy
Division 3-4, girls, boys, and then followed up by Division 1-2, girls and boys down in Windsor to wrap up the basketball season. We'll be back next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, 5:30 tip, and we will be talking all Sweet 16. Have a great rest of the week and have an amazing March Madness.
Yes.